Welcome to another episode of Fougere Family Adventures. Join me today as I show you how to clean a burbot. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. The first step in cleaning a burbot is to remove the skin. When we catch burbot, we try not to gut the fish unless we're ice fishing. We will take it back to a cleaning station like this one, and we will cut all behind the head, behind the fins, so that we can prepare to pull the skin off. The best way to remove skin from a burbot is to use a pair of catfish skinning pliers like these ones. I have tried needle nose pliers in the past, and it's very difficult to grip the skin. You can see how easily these pliers grab the skin and pull it back. Now, some people will grab a burbot and nail the head to a tree, nail the head to a board. I don't seem to have much of an issue this way, although the larger the fish, the more difficult it can be to pull all the skin off. So you can see I continually go around the fish and pull the skin back. I've seen different methods where some people will slit the skin down the side of the fish or down the top. This will allow it to peel off the fish easier. But for me, rotating the fish just like this allows me to get to the end and pull every last piece of skin off. One more pull, and it's off. Now, removing the edible portions of a burbot is slightly different than if you were to, say, fillet a kokanee or a rainbow trout. On the top section of the fish, they have what we could refer to as a tenderloin. This chunk of meat runs along the very top of the back, and if you cut down the top like I'm doing here, you will follow a set of bones. I'm following the set of bones from the top down to another set of bones, the ribs that come out, and then there are a set of bones on those ribs that kind of hook up. I like to take my time when I'm following all the bones because I'm trying to remove as much meat as possible. The bones on these burbot, the ribs, those little portion of the ribs that hook up, will dull your knife very quickly. And they also, you could cut them off, so you want to be careful. You don't want to cut them off and have them come off in your meat in that really nice piece of tenderloin. When you know you're at those bones that hook up, you want to be very careful. And from that point, you can start separating the tenderloin from the body of the burbot. And you'll get this really nice piece of meat, and you will not have to cut through into the guts. You'll be able to pull it away, and you will work yourself back to approximately where the anus of the fish is, and then you'll be able to start cutting a fillet off the back half of the fish. Now you can see as I lift the tenderloin up, I'm slowly cutting away just above those bones. And the weight of the burbot is helping pull this tenderloin off. It's creating some nice tension for me so that I can cut through it. Now with my knife here today, I was having some difficulties because my knife needed to be sharpened. And thankfully, my work sharp knife sharpener was able to put an edge back on this knife, and it made cleaning the next fish easier. As I'm getting to the anus here, you'll see I'm able to push the knife through and slide the knife down to the back. Now I struggle with the backbone here. You can see my knife is getting caught on the backbone. The key here is to try and move that knife back and forth so that you can get as much meat as you can off the sides, or maybe use a more flexible knife that you can push down the back and just take off just a touch more meat than you see there. You want to remove the other side the same way. Follow the bones down the back, starting with the top. Follow them down to the rib cage, and make sure you get as much meat off as you possibly can. Watch your fingers. I came a little close there. Now the fish kept sliding off of this table, and so I was trying to find a comfortable angle to cut from. You can see the tail flops around quite a bit. So you want to be careful. You don't want to rush this job. Number one, you could cut yourself with your knife, and you may end up leaving too much meat on the fish if you're focusing on that tail flopping around and you're rushing. Now you can see that I'm removing the tenderloin on the other side. The stomach has not been opened. The guts are still inside. And we're going to cut the next section of this fish off here. I've got to the end. I'm going to find out where it joins, where I can get my fillet. And I'm going to cut all the way down again. You can see how my knife keeps hitting that backbone. Keep that knife as close as you possibly can to the backbone. Follow it all the way down. And if your knife gets dull, these backbones, these bones on these burbot seem to be very tough and will dull your blade. Don't forget to take that belly meat. The belly meat on a burbot is like calamari. It's very tasty. Do not leave it behind. You can see that I'm cutting very gently. I don't want to cut the guts, but if you hold it just right, you'll actually be able to remove a large portion of meat that is a good size, and everyone that I've gave it to try, everyone loves it. There's nothing better than belly meat. Now, if you like to learn, now is the time. I always like to check the stomach contents of the fish that I catch. So here, as you can see, I'm removing the stomach and I'm going to take a look inside. A quick look at this fish says there's nothing in here. As we're cutting through, everyone else thinks there's nothing in this fish. But as I can feel, there is something in there, and I was very curious to see what this fish was eating. Now it turns out these fish are voracious predators. They eat kokanee, they eat little fish, anything they can get their hands on or their mouths on. And look at the size of that backbone of the prey that it was eating. These things will eat big baits. After I'm done cleaning my fish, I always clean the fillets. Now if you look at my fillets, there's a slight touch of red in some of these fillets. The one thing we could have done differently with this fish was to bleed it. I don't typically bleed my kokanee, but when it comes to bigger fish, I'm finding bleeding makes a big difference in the meat quality, and it makes the fish taste just that much better. So there you have it. That is how much meat has come off this burbot. Now I would like to show you what we do. We like to chunk our fish up like this. You cut bite-sized chunks out of the burbot. Sometimes we shake and bake it. Other times we will deep fry it, a little pan of oil. And if you cut it into chunks like I'm doing, it makes the cooking process easier because all of the work has been done at your cleaning station. That's one fillet, one tenderloin of the burbot. Now for the stomach, you can do it different ways. Some people will leave it whole. Some people cut it into really long strips. I just chunk it up and I put it with the rest of the fish, and we cook it the same way, like the whole fish. You can tell the difference between the belly meat and the regular fish, but it's not a huge difference. It's just tastes slightly different, and everyone that eats it loves it. And one more time, I'll show you what I like to do. When you cut the fish into chunks like this, you have a nice individual piece of meat that everyone likes to eat. It's perfect portion control when you're feeding a large group, or it's a perfect portion control size when you're trying to divide it up for the freezer for later. Now, every time we catch a burbot, we like to eat it right away. We love eating it fresh. We haven't eaten a lot of burbot from the freezer because we're usually eating it when we're out fishing, and we definitely enjoy eating it fresh. It just tastes that much better compared to leaving it in the freezer. The last thing you want to do after you've cleaned your burbot, or any fish for that matter, is to make sure you're cleaning up after yourself, especially at a fish cleaning station like this one. I always like to wipe everything down and make sure you're leaving it the way you found it, if not better. Clean your whole area, clean all the mess that you made, make sure it's nice and clean and ready for the next person. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from this video. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.